Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in Northern Michigan. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Please subscribe. We're getting close to 2,000. Detroit basketball. I don't think we're going to win the NBA championship, but tonight was pretty exciting. It was fun to watch. We got buried early, but we come out and pounded the Milwaukee Bucks 120-87, and we were behind 24-6 to start the game. And the Bucks, everything they threw up went in, and Dame Lillard hit 3 threes in a row, and everybody that seemed like they shot it up that went in. They were 13 of 26 in the first half on threes, and we were only 8 of 23. But we came back. We ended the half with a 17-6 run, and they were playing their starters, and we were playing our starters. Of course, they played without Giannis and Middleton, which are two of their top 3 players, and we didn't have Harris, who was ill. He didn't play at the open practice, so I'm not sure what was wrong with him, but he was right around all the guys, so whatever he had was that illness. They weren't afraid of him spreading it, and again, heartbreaking. The Tsar has not been cleared to play yet by the NBA, by the league, or by the Players Association, and we just got to hope that the blood clots are, we don't want to take any chances, that's for sure, with blood clots. And sad Bobby Clipman couldn't play, because these are the kind of games when Bobby Clipman can really help. And, tonight the show was Jaden Ivey. He put on an amazing performance, and, he was 23 minutes, he was 6 for 8 from the floor, 3 for 3 on threes, 7 for 9 from the free throw line, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, and he had 22 points in only 23 minutes. And he was amazing. And we got to see it, Piston fans. Like JB said, and like I told you, that what he said preseason, before we ever started practices, that he was going to probably stagger Cade and Ivey. And that's exactly what he did. He played Cade at the point. Ivey went out. When Ivey came back, they played a little bit together. Then when Cade went out, Ivey ran the point. And so that's what he said he was going to do. And all these people, again, that talked about, Beasley's going to start, Sarr's going to start. But this is what he said he was going to do. And Ivey put on a show. So, and Holland, if Harris and Sarr were healthy, he might have not got this opportunity. And he shot the same way that he usually shoots. So he played 26 minutes, led the team in minutes played, but he was 4 for 10. So, the sad thing about shooting percentage is if you're 4 for 10, you're not very good from the field. But if you're 5 for 10, you're really good. And he was 0 for 3 on threes. And if he could have made just one of those threes, it would have been good. But he was so active. He had 6 rebounds, but some offensive rebounds, 5 assists. He was moving the ball. He was moving the ball quickly around the perimeter, which is an underrated thing in the NBA. Guys that hold the ball and don't see that next pass, that one more pass, and he made it all night. And guys were knocking him down. So he had 5 assists, and again, it was so impressive. But his defense, he guarded Lillard. He guarded a lot of guys, and he just got right after it. And he might have got beat a couple times, but he is just in their grill, a lot like a Sarr. He's not as good as a Sarr, but I mean, wouldn't you love to see those two guys? They both can't shoot, but man, would they get after people defensively? But he did. He did what we heard that he might be able to do, and hope the offense gets better. But the surprise big plus was the passing, I think, because he played a real good game. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch the guys. And then in the second half, it was both teams' benches played a lot. Our starters played a little bit at the beginning, and then both teams' benches played. And our bench was way better than their bench. That's all I could say. And we just took it right to them and just smoked them in the second half. So the disappointment, and was my worst fear in the one game, we can overreact. Everybody overreacts in sports. But after one game, what I was afraid could happen, and again, it's just one game. Tim Hardaway Jr. I didn't like him. I haven't liked him as a player, and nothing personal, but he thinks he's the greatest player in the league. He takes tough shots. He got a 3-point shot block. I mean, if you take a 3, you should be open. You shouldn't be getting many 3s blocked. Although Cade was way far off a guy, and he rotated so fast and hard and came out of nowhere and blocked the guy's 3 in the corner. But usually you shouldn't get your 3 blocked. And so he got a shot blocked, but he just didn't perform well. But he's here he is. He was the third leading scorer. Why was he? He was the third leading scorer on the Dallas Mavericks last year. They made the playoffs, but then they get to the playoffs, they make it to the finals, and he's hardly playing. And there's a reason. He just isn't a winning basketball player, in my opinion. He's not. He's mediocre at best on defense, and he takes tough shots. He turns the ball over. I don't know how much turns over because I don't think he passes very much, but he struggled. So he had 15 minutes. He was 1 for 7 from the floor, 0 for 4 on threes, and they bailed him out. He would be 0 for 5, but they fouled him on one of his threes, so he got 3 free throws. He made 2 of them. He had 3 rebounds, 0 assists, and 2 turnovers. 4 points. He was -9, and we'll talk about that again this year a little bit. But he had the worst plus minus on the team. So yeah, but we had a lot of fun things to watch, and Cade played okay. He didn't play great, but I'm not worried at all about Cade. But Beasley, Beasley came in off the bench. So we started Cade, Fontecchio, Ivey, Hardaway, and Duran. And so we're going to talk about all those guys here coming up. But Beasley, they brought out, ESPN brought out a stat. And I like, ESPN came out before the game. Legler said he thought that the Pistons could be one of the surprise teams or show the biggest improvements in this season. So that was really cool. And they painted a positive picture of the Pistons, which we don't usually get. I will say this. I was at Piston games like in 2004. I heard Tim Legler say on a podcast before that where somebody asked him, where was the scariest place that you ever announced from? And he said Detroit. And I was one of those people. Unfortunately, I'm not proud of it at all, but I would, he loved the Lakers, and he just, like so many people in media, the Lakers have always got overhyped, but they had Shaq and Kobe, and he just kept on heaping praise. So I called him Laker-loving Legler and stuff, and yelling and stuff, and because my seats were right near where the ESPN announcers table was, and so he got to hear it. But anyway, he said really good things about the Pistons and Cade and the whole team, and so that was cool. But Beasley, the ESPN said the stat: in the last 3 years, only 5 players in the NBA have made 200 or more threes in each of the last 3 years. Steph Curry, Buddy Hield, Fred Van Fleet, Jason Tatum, and our own Malik Beasley. And so he has just been a rock consistent shooter, and the Bucks let him go. So it was so cool. He made 2 threes in a row, and one of the threes, he shoots the 3, and before the ball even gets to the basket, he turns to the Milwaukee bench and talks trash to him. And he was talking trash even on the defensive end and just really getting into guys. And I really liked the way that he played tonight. So I like the way that Stu played. Stu had played like Stu. And Stu was talking earlier about how he was happy that he is going to get to play center, and that's where JB wants to play him because you could tell. He made a 3 tonight, man. He shot 38% on threes last year, but he is not comfortable. They don't guard him there because he doesn't feel like he's a perimeter player. And some players just don't feel that way. I talked before about Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley is phenomenal. He is a great defensive player. He has lots of talent, but he's not this kind of guy that wants to be a big-time scorer. Kobe Bryant, he wanted to shoot it every time he touched it. And some guys just don't feel comfortable with that. That's just not in their DNA. And so, yeah, it was fun to watch Beasley play and fun to watch Stu play. And Stu, again, he had an excellent game. Talk real quick about open practice before I go through the box scores. But Tanis Jenkins, he put on a show at the open practice. He won the slam dunk contest. They had a little slam dunk contest. They scrimmaged for 2 quarters. I wish they would have scrimmaged for more. They did a couple drills, and then they had a little, not very well organized slam dunk contest, but it was still fun to watch because Tanis Jenkins, the winning dunk was this incredible dunk where he had Sasser lob the ball up off the backboard. Tanis Jenkins, who's not very tall, catch it, makes this reverse incredible dunk. Second place was Ron Holland. he made a dynamic dunk. I recorded him. I wish I knew how to put him on the screen for you, but Ron Holland made a great dunk. And then then they had a little singing thing where the rookies, they did this the other years, where the rookies had to sing, and Candace Jenkins and Ron Holland were funny. They were, they yucked it up and they sang, and they were, they had good rhythm and they were fun to watch, and they, the whole team had fun. And I love watching these things though. That's why I, got it before 6 o'clock in the morning and drove down there when I knew there might not be much at the open practice, but I get to see things like how Stu and Ivy react with their teammates and how much fun they have, and they just cheered them on when they were singing and during the dunk contest. It was really cool. So another big stat they said, Stu was 5th best defensive percentage in people shooting against him in the whole NBA last year. The 5th lowest shooting percentage, and that's very impressive. So Tech started. I liked the way he played. I was worried. I said before the season, I thought he'd be one of the underrated. He's one of the least talked about players, but he played 24 minutes, 3 for 8, 1 for 4 on threes, and he's a good 3-point shooter. I'm not worried about that. He had 5 rebounds and 1 assist. So that was good. 9 points. Duren, 23 minutes, 4 for 9. So here's the thing about Duren. Well, he's going up against Lopez, who led the league in block shots, and start the game, he gets blocked 3 times by Lopez, which doesn't usually happen with other guys. So, he was 4 for 9, and 3 of his 5 misses were shots that were blocked. So, but here's the other thing: he had 4 assists, fantastic. But he had 2 turnovers. He almost had some other turnovers if somebody wouldn't have got called for a foul, where he tries to throw this bounce pass into close quarters where it's crowded, and he tries to throw those bounce passes, and sometimes they bounce up the guy's ankles. They're cool passes. Everybody likes to make that cool bounce pass to the cutter, sliding to the basket. But you got to complete it, and I guess 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio isn't terrible, but he had 1 block. He tried to challenge another block, and so that was cool. He had 8 points. Again, Cade was only 24 minutes, 5 for 13, 2 for 6 on threes. His shot looks flat. I was disappointed in that. I thought that, I was hoping that they would work with him, that Fred Vinson would get his shot up, his arc up, and he still can, and he shot the 3 pretty good last year. And so he had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and he had a steal and a block. Again, that great block where he closed out and the guy in the corner, 2 turnovers. So it's a good solid game from Cade. I thought Beasley, 20 minutes, 4 for 8. And I like the way he played 3 for 7 on threes, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. So he looks to share the ball. He was scrapping on defense. Stewart, 17 minutes, 3 for 4, 1 for 2 on threes, 2 for 2. So very, very efficient for Stu. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 9 points. Plus 25. So Holland was plus 25. Stu was plus 25. So was Wendell Moore. So he's not going to be in the rotation, but he had a great, phenomenal game, Wendell Moore Jr. So Sasser came in. So I watched, Sasser didn't get in until like 6 minutes left in the third quarter. They didn't play him in the first half at all when the starters played. But when he was here's the thing about him, when he was at the open practice, nobody could guard him. Nobody could stay in front of him. And I don't think there's hardly anybody in the NBA that can stay in front of him. The problem with Sasser is that when he beats his man and he gets in the paint and he's surrounded, again, he looks like, I said this last year, he looks like a middle school kid playing in a varsity game. He's tiny. And so when you get in the heavy traffic with all those big guys, then it can lead to turnovers and it can lead to missed shots. But he was efficient he was 4 for 8, but 0 for 3 on threes. And he can shoot it. But again, I like Sasser. I'm not sure what his role is going to be when everybody's playing. So but he can play some point. But he was just so inconsistent on his threes last year. He would seem like he was 1 for 9 on threes, or then he'd be 4 for 9 on threes. And so he started out the season really, really hot, and then he cooled off a lot. But he'd even have some inconsistent games back to back. But here's the big one. He had 9 assists, and he's playing with that second unit, and their second unit was not very good, and our second unit was knocking down shots. So, and my guy, B-Ball Paul. So before my first podcast of the season, I mentioned my hot takes. One of my hot takes was Paul Reed is going to impress everybody at training camp, and he's going to earn minutes. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen, because if Duran and Stu play the 5, then where are minutes for Paul Reed? But all the word coming out of training camp, and there's only been like 5 days of training camp, is that Paul Reed, that's the one guy that everybody mentioned, the coaches, the other players. Who are you impressed with? Paul Reed. And he's skinnier than I thought he was, but he did a lot of Paul Reed things tonight. Played 15 minutes. He was only 2 for 7. He made a nice, tough fadeaway shot, and he was 0 for 2 on threes. Oh, he made a 3, so that can't be right, because I watched him make a 3, and it looked really good. But he had 5 rebounds, and he had blocks and steals, and it was really cool. He had like 3 blocks, or 4 steals and 2 blocks, and so that's big time stuff in only 17 minutes. Dennis Jenkins played 9 minutes and was 1 for 3 and 2 points. So here's another big thing, is that we had 12 offensive rebounds, and if Sauer plays, we're going to get even way more than that. And if Duran gets more minutes, we're going to get way more than that. But Ron Holland goes after him. Cade got some offensive rebounds. Ivy got some offensive rebounds. We got a team that can get those in. As a coach, that's a huge stat for me. When you get offensive rebounds and you can get all those extra possessions without playing defense, they lead to easy shots. So that was huge. The other big stat was 31 assists. We had 31 assists on not that many field goals, and so that was really cool to see the way that we shared the ball. So anyways, great start for our team, and again, it's one game to overreact, one preseason game, but I think it can get better. And again, they didn't have 2 of their top 3 players, but we had some guys missing too, but not the quality of their players, so obviously. And then, again, the second half was a lot of bench guys playing a majority of the half. So, but anyway, great start, lots of fun. And again, it was great to see the turnover. I know that, again, like I said, the Piston fans, I'm sure were all disappointed. And here we go again. We're going to win 14 games, and we're going to poop for Coop or Cooper flag. And the thought crossed my mind when we were down by 24-6 at the start of the game. Well, maybe we'll have another chance to get the top pick again, but we still could very easily. It's going to be a challenge to win games in the NBA, it always is, but this showed a lot of good signs, positive signs, and so I'm encouraged. I can't wait for the next preseason game. But I want to thank you all for listening. Be the reason that somebody feels heard, and go Pistons.